Greetings, my friends. Get ready to take up those glasses and pour in the Powerful Nerdcast 190 proof. I am Corey, and joined with me, as always, is my good friend Christian.
Yo!
And today we have a special guest. It's our good friend, Michael.
Intern 2.0.
2.0.
That's right, guys. We got an exciting episode for you guys today. We're going to take a look at what's going on in the world of internet culture and pop culture. And I think one of the biggest things that's going on right now, it's been in discussion for a long time, is the long-awaited release of the Snyder Cut. That's right. The Justice League Snyder Cut, to be exact. And I've always been interested in this. Not because I'm a fan of Justice League, but I've always wanted to know what the deal is with the Snyder Cut. What makes it unique? Why is it special? Why is it such a big deal? And I myself have never been able to even make it through the regular version of Justice League. I get like 20 minutes in, I get completely bored. I'm like, this is stupid. This is just not my thing. I'm not really that big on DC live action films, but I want to know, why is the Snyder Cut so important? So Michael, since you're our guest today, let's go ahead and start with you. Give us your input on either the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, what you hope to see from this potential version of the film.
Right. So I've never been a huge DC guy. The only thing I've really kind of indulged with DC kind of universe is the Arkham games. I've been really into the Arkham games.
They're good.
Ever since like the first Arkham Asylum came out, I was in love with the games, and I love Batman a lot. I think the universe is really vast, and there's a lot of different areas to explore. But I feel like within the DC extended universe, there hasn't been a lot of sort of exploration down the roads that they need to go down. So I feel like they were really trying at the time, 2017, they were trying to keep up with Marvel. So DC tried to go for, we got to get these big, larger ensemble movies as soon as, Captain America Civil War was coming out, and they tried to keep up with that. And I feel like they rushed into it a little too much. I feel like they did not set up Ben Affleck's Batman as well as they should have. I feel like they still didn't expand upon Henry Cavill's Superman. And I feel like there was just a lot of missing pieces that needed to be there that just weren't. I think the reason Justice League didn't do as well as it should have is for that very reason. I feel like they were missing a lot of key ingredients that just, it could have been a lot better. For one thing, where is Green Lantern? Green Lantern is a huge part of it. Where's Martian Manhunter? He's a huge part of it.
Huge.
And I just feel like without all of those pieces, it couldn't have lived up to its potential. And I think with the new recut coming out, I think it's going to improve probably 50%. I don't think it's going to be a completely revolutionary new form of the Justice League. But from everything I've heard and everything I've read about, all the cast and all the crew is excited for this to come out because they've been demanding this to come out for years. Since 2017, it's, we're at 2021 now. I feel like there's a lot of audiences that have lost interest, but maybe this might pique their interest again and might get them focused into it a little bit more. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like the want for this is out there, but we'll see if it can match the hype. Zach, the director, is a great guy. Like, obviously, he's made some great movies. He was very passionate about all the work and the storytelling he did with these characters. But, what happens usually is these studios get their hands in there and they're just like, no, we need it to be simpler. We need it to be faster. Did they kick him out, or did they just, he had a kid or some suicide or something happened and he abandoned the film because he had to go take care of personal stuff?
Yeah, his personal stuff got in the way and he had to step down from being, director, and then Joss Whedon took over.
And Joss Whedon's a great director too. Very different directors.
Right.
So it feel like they Disneyfied the movie a little on the back end with him coming in.
Sure.
But overall, if it's not better, then the internet was pretty bad to demand this so much. But I mean, obviously there's a reason for this. There's a need for it because people want it. Right. And they've been talking about it nonstop. And I'd love to see what Superman was supposed to be without the digital retouch-ups on his face. I want to see where that arc was supposed to go with that character. I think you hit it really well that Batman didn't get very well developed. They sort of like barely gave it to you in Batman vs. Superman, and they're like, that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like the fans were always like, stop giving us Batman's origin again. But there was still more they could do besides the origin, you know,
Sure.
because the fans want it both ways sometimes.
Yeah, because we all know who Batman is.
Yeah, we all
obviously.
know who Batman is, but we could have learned who is Batman in this universe more, you know, like his style. And then same thing with Superman, one of my favorite characters ever. But for some reason, they just never want to develop him. They're scared to like let Superman do anything besides save people. Like they don't want to show you Superman making an omelet. They don't want to show Superman doing anything besides saving people. And maybe that's the difference here too. Well, we did see Superman fuck in a hot tub. Was that in this movie or was that the other one?
I think that was Batman versus
Oh,
Superman.
never mind. Well, that's the only thing I've seen Superman do. You know, like, and Henry Cavill looks good with a shirt off, so I was cool with it. Oh, sorry, guys. But the point is, they don't give Superman anything to do. They're just not really giving that character much to do. So I'm kind of excited to see that they're going to do more with that character. Or hopefully. Like, what the hell is all this 4 hours going to be about? And also, it being cut, if I understand it right, it's going to be cut episodically. And I think it's 4 episodes, hour each, or maybe 2 episodes, 2 hours each, something like that.
See, and that right there, that whole subject of HBO picking it up, you know, and they're investing over $30 million plus into revamping it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I heard they're bringing the same post team back, the same special effects team back just to redo it.
Yeah, just to redo it. No more reshoots or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they're investing $30 million in this project into a 4-part series. I feel like I'm going to lose a lot of interest. I don't want to watch this movie again for 4 hours, you know?
Just to play the counter argument to that, but I loved Marvel's Endgame, how they broke that into 2 movies.
Right.
But there wasn't a big villain payoff in this movie.
No.
There wasn't characters you cared about yet.
No.
Because they were just pouring.
Marvel was 10 years. Like
10 years of a
that
burn.
took 10 years. They, you know, this DC extended. When did it start? 2013 or something like that.
And you know their payoff. They did win with Wonder Woman because she was great, and they developed her a little more with her movie. And then
I'd even argue Aquaman was a pretty fun movie.
yeah,
Right.
well, it was just shit happening everywhere in like 5 different locations, and it was an awesome movie.
And again, ironically, I think taking, as you said, Christian, kind of Disneyfying it a little bit, I think Aquaman took a lot of inspiration from the Marvel films and not taking itself too seriously and ultimately being just a little more fun. Whenever I watch Aquaman, when I see all those characters in the ridiculous costumes and the set pieces.
the win of Aquaman almost needs to be celebrated more because he was supposed to be the biggest joke of all the characters.
Exactly.
And they turned it all around, you know?
You completely think about Aquaman in a completely different fashion. Like, look at 10 years ago. Aquaman was a complete and total joke. He was basically used for funny bumper ads on frickin' Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Now you think of Jason Momoa, who completely has changed that character from head to toe. And in a movie which is ultimately looks like a high-budget Power Rangers episode. Like, that is what is so remarkable about Aquaman. Aquaman and Wonder Woman really changed the game. And I think one of the biggest differences with the Snyder Cut, of course, is going to be, I think, a lot of the visual. That was one of the things that a lot of people have mentioned. Zack Snyder has a very distinctive visual style to his
Heavy
films.
black lines, you know?
Very dark and muted colors,
Yeah.
which, of course, has always been the big joke of the DC movies. They take themselves a little too seriously. Look at the very first trailer for Justice League, and you can see a huge difference when compared to the final theatrical cut, especially in terms of just the color. Everything was dark and muted and gray, and then when Joss Whedon came in, he freaking went into color correction and cranked up the saturation, changed all the backgrounds to these deep orange colors. Basically, the entire film was changed. And of course, a lot of things were taken away from Zack Snyder's cut in terms of characterization and introducing other characters. You know, there's subtle hints to Green Lantern, but Zack Snyder obviously had bigger plans for bringing that character into this film, and for all we know, this could be a big opportunity to do it with this brand new episodic format, which again, man, is that not one of the most unique things ever? To take a film which did okay, some fans liked it, they bring it back, they re-chop it up into something else, and they're actually going to do reshoots. For all we know, this could be the proper introduction for characters like Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, or even friggin' Hawkman, for all I know. The point is, this is going to be an interesting experiment going forward, and the way that the movie landscape is changing, this is just another one of those things that we can expect to see in the future. It's not just video on demand anymore. It's taking existing films and turning them into something else entirely. It's George Lucasing on a brand new level, which I think is just fascinating.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Because I want this to do well because the fans really wanted it. I didn't care too much about the movie when it came out, so I want to like this more. I'm kind of superheroed out. I realize how overplayed it is now that the whole pandemic is going on and all movies have been paused. Yep. I'm like, we should have had a Wonder Woman movie like in a month from now, right? Now they're going to pause it. Right. We should have had the new Batman film probably done being filming.
Yeah, Black Widow also.
Black Widow's film is pretty much done. They're just not releasing it because no one will watch it, right now, because no one will go to a theater. So I feel like we're totally superheroed out. I still enjoy them. I'm still probably going to pay to see them, but at the same time, if you're going to re-release a movie, like it better be good, or else Zack Snyder fans better shut the fuck up. Sorry.
I mean, I don't think this is ultimately going to save the whole DC universe or the DC extended universe, as they call it in the movie format. I think they've had some wins, though. I mean, we always bring up Aquaman and Wonder Woman, but I still think there's a lot of potential for this franchise in the future. I think one of the coolest things that I've seen from Marvel, and more from the Sony side of things, is the fact that they're starting to dip their toes into other formats. Yeah. I think the best Spider-Man movie is an animated one. It's Into the Spider-Verse. Yep. I would love to see DC do something like that. I want to see animated stuff from their characters, because I've always felt that DC has done a way better job in terms of using their characters in an animated format. I mean, they have countless direct-to-DVD and on-demand movies and everything.
That are great.
That are fantastic. Some of them have some of the best animation you'd see from an American animation studio, and they really do those characters justice. It also helps, too, that these are comic book characters. They inherently look almost cartoonish in a sense, so maybe that's why they translate so well to there. Yet, at the same time, Marvel just has this magic when it comes to translating these characters on and putting them on screen and making them still look comic booky, but not too ridiculous all at the same time. I mean, it's an interesting dance that they've been able to pull off that DC just hasn't quite caught up with yet, and things are going to get even crazier with the future. I mean, you have to realize, too, DC is also breaking the rules a little bit. Marvel has been very consistent over the last decade or so with the fact that they have all of these movies which are interconnected and have some sort of connection to each other outside of maybe a few Sony movies like, say, Venom or the upcoming Morbius. But then you have DC, which has their connected movies. Then you have stuff like the Joker movie, which came out with Joaquin Phoenix. Nothing to do with any of the other films. Then you have this brand new Batman movie coming out, The Batman. I'm not even sure, is that supposed to be connected to any of this stuff? Because it's like a prequel too. It's like about a younger Batman. It's not Ben Affleck Batman. It can be kind of confusing for the average viewer.
Right. I don't think it's going to be connected at all, actually. I think I've heard rumors of them rebooting the entire DC universe just because of all the problems that they've had with it. I heard they were going to bring in a new Superman. They were going to do just everything all over again. And this Batman definitely has the opportunity to do that and do it right. Because we've seen Batman, 5-6 times now. Val Kilmer, George Clooney, the lesser ones that we would want to talk about. Yeah. Michael Keaton, best one.
Very good. Yeah.
But we know who Batman is. We know who Bruce Wayne is. We know the origin, and I think they need to kind of take it off at a level where they kind of did in the MCU with Spider-Man, with just throwing him in. Just throw him in. And we know where he starts. We know where he lands. We just want to see these interesting sorts of like takes on it.
Yeah, like flavor of the week. Like, we want to see that character go through things. We don't want to just see him fight the mega big bad guy. Like, just put him in scenarios where we get to see what the character will do instead of explain who the character is.
It's not even too different from the comics. I mean, there's so much continuity in the comics and parallel worlds and different universes. A lot of the times, they can just take that character that exists, that has a pre-existing backstory, throw them into an interesting story that can just stand alone on its own without having to necessarily connect to an overall bigger story that's going to lead to something even crazier in the formation of a team and a crazy villain that everybody has to take down. For all I care, they could do an interesting Batman movie every couple years just with a cool story behind it, of just watching Batman do what Batman does, solving a crime, solving a mystery, an interesting villain, or something to that effect. I think that would be really awesome if they did that. Basically, go the Joker route with it. Take a character that we know a lot about, that we don't have to establish a backstory with, and just give us something interesting.
Are you talking about the Phoenix?
Exactly. Yeah, because we all know who the Joker is. We don't need a backstory on him, despite the fact that the movie was kind of a backstory on the character.
But it was like a deep dive into Joker.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, it's not connected to anything else, and it's standalone. And it has a middle, it has an end, and that's it. Like, that's all you really need from it.
It was a unique take on the Joker, though. Like, we've never seen him be a stand-up comedian before. We've never really seen that. And I thought that was really interesting about it, is that usually in the comics, Joker is not supposed to have a name. but they gave Arthur Fleck.
Mm-hmm.
He's instead of like the acid mutation, he's the makeup, and he's a made character, and I think that's the part that I liked about it the most.
And also, instead of falling into acid, he went through traumatic human events.
Right.
And so it's very relatable. It's like the stuff with his mom, the stuff with his disease, the stuff with being made fun of. Everyone can relate to having, sad disease and family members and failure, instead of just a comic falling into an acid and transforming into a monster, So I feel like it was just a super relatable movie. People understood it. And I still can't believe how well that movie did. And it shows that it doesn't need to be laser beams and explosions.
Right.
It just needs to be.
There was nothing fantastical about that movie. It was the most human DC movie that's ever been made. Maybe the most human comic book movie that's ever been made.
Yeah.
What I also love about the Joker is how interpretive it is. Like I've heard a lot of wild theories about the movie. How the actual Joker that we see in that movie is not the actual Joker that battles with Batman. The reason for that, of course, is because within that story, Bruce Wayne is like 10 years old. The parents die. The whole, the necklace is ripped off in the alley and the parents are killed. And then you have the Joker, who's played by Joaquin Phoenix, who I believe is in his 50s. So that would mean, like, by the time Batman becomes Batman, like, we're dealing with, like, a freaking Joker with, like, a bad back pain. But that's the thing that's interesting about the Joker is that he's not just, an actual character. He's kind of like an idea. He's something that could inspire someone else. And you could definitely see from that movie, a lot of people were taking inspiration from the Joker and were being inspired by his acts. For all we know, there is someone else out there who could eventually become that classic fall into the vat of acid Joker who took inspiration from that character. Right. It was the spark that lit the flame, so to speak. And that's, again, what's so fascinating about that movie. And man, I wanted to hate that movie so much.
He literally hated it right up to the point where he watched it and he's like, fuck, it's good.
It was good. And I saw it I told Christian about this, Michael, I never told you. I saw it in the weirdest of places for the first time. I saw it on a cruise ship. And it was cool because I got to watch this movie like in the middle of the fucking ocean, and it was really, really strange, but I got really sucked into it. I loved the cinematography. Everybody acted their ass off, and I thought it just wouldn't work for me. And I was like, damn, that was actually really good.
I cried during that movie.
Really?
I'm gonna admit it. Yeah, I cried a little bit.
It's a powerful film.
The scene where he's on the bus and he's trying to make the faces at the kid. That really made me sad because it's just like he's just trying to be this happy spirit, and then society is like absolutely just brick walling him, and
at every corner.
It just kills me.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's a relatable film, and that's what I think that was always the goal with that. It was never going to be supernatural or a movie where he was a mastermind and he planned all this stuff. He's just a guy that started a movement, and everyone understands that. Yeah. But it is a very sad movie. Like, it is not a feel-good film. No. You realize that you're just like, oh, there was some truth to that. And I think you said it best, Corey. Is it something you should take super literal? Because then it's like, kill all the rich people and then society's better. Mm-hmm. That's a little too literal. But is it that everyone needs to be nicer to everyone? You can reduce it in that direction. Like that might save the whole world one day if we're all a little nicer to each other. So it's a very interesting film. And I hope they take more. But again, with a Batman film, you couldn't go that way. You couldn't just talk about Bruce Wayne sitting around being sad that his parents are dead. Like that wouldn't work. You at the end of the day, it has to do, superhero stuff. So we'll see where the Snyder cut goes. But overall, I think that superhero movies need to evolve because now that Endgame is over, I don't want to see that series again. I want something a little
And I don't want to see a retread. I don't want to see the same old, let's introduce something in this movie and build it up over another 10 films for 10 years. Yeah. Like, let's
if
just...
Rick and Morty can do it in 20 minutes, why can't they do it in an hour and a half?
That's a good point. Like, I mean, let's go ahead and go crazy. Like, let's introduce Galactus and all this other stuff. Let's get our big movie now and just let all these other characters shine. And I mean, they're just getting started too with Marvel. I mean, they're still going to introduce Fantastic Four and X-Men and all this other stuff. There's Blade is coming with Mahershala Ali.
I'm excited about that, actually.
Which I think is going to be really awesome. I'm excited for that. There's already big talks that even though Venom is technically owned by Sony, they're going to eventually bring him in and he's going to battle against the current Spider-Man. There's so much still promise for that. But I do agree, Christian, they do need to either evolve or make some sort of change in order to not get too stagnant. But you know what? I'm going to give a lot of trust to them because so far they're doing a great job.
Besides DC.
Yeah.
Besides DC.
There's just I do like the format currently of how things are played out and, how we build things up and then we get to this epic finale. But there's a new route that I think cinema should go, And that's kind of dialing in on small details. Because I used to love like the old James Bond movies where they would show everything. They would show the gadgets. They would show how they're made. They would show how they work. They would show, every step of the way. And it seems like as cinema is progressing, we're losing these little details. And as we lose these little details, I become less interested. So it's the same thing with the new Star Wars. I wanted to see where that gold lightsaber came from. I wanted to see where it came from, how it was made, why it was there, and we just didn't get that.
Don't ask why anything happened in the new Star Wars series.
I'm just saying.
There's no answers.
As just that as an example, like, that this new Batman can take that direction where it's, I want to see, not necessarily an origin, but I want to see like now he's got this cool car that we see in the trailer, or the set pictures. He's got this cool new suit with the bat that has, I guess, gun pieces in it.
Yeah,
gunmetal. I want to see where did that come from? Don't just tell me that the costume designer made it. Give it a purpose. I hate like they throw in all these new designs and it's like I want to see that being made on camera. I want to see that.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, they're not giving you much deepness. Like developing his route to get to his costume was one of my favorite things on that Daredevil Netflix show. Yeah, because it was kind of like you saw the evolution of his costume. Yeah, that was really cool. You saw it a lot in the Netflix shows. I think even what was the kung fu guy? Why am I forgetting?
Iron Fist?
Iron Fist.
Yeah. Like even his outfit evolved a little bit, like you're sort of seeing that. That's part of the thing, the lore, like in Aquaman, they didn't tell you shit about the dude's outfit. They just, there he is in the outfit, And so,
Superman, we got a little bit. It's on the ship and he's got to pick it up. But
that's a metaphor almost for recognizing your true self, going to the spaceship you came from and then taking your spacesuit and then, your identity changes. Exactly. It's a metaphor. It's super deep, guys. What else are we talking about today, Corey?
Well, it's funny. I wanted to get on another topic because you mentioned Rick and Morty. And a couple weeks ago, they aired an episode, which we both watched and loved. It was sort of a parody of the Alien series. And it had a great title, by the way. It was Pro Mortius.
Prometheus.
Yeah, okay. Making fun of Prometheus, of course. The joke that was in the episode was pretty offensive to some people, and we've watched it a couple of times, and I'm of the mindset that nothing is sacred. Either everything's funny or nothing's funny at all. And the basic setup of the joke is that Rick and Morty are on an alien planet. They escape from the evil clutches of some aliens, and they go around and they just start destroying everything. Like they're using their ship to destroy the city, and they're having a lot of fun doing it. It's fun because of how over the top it is and how they just seem to not care about what it is they're doing. However, there's one moment where they slowly come to these two towers and they decide to stop all the destruction. And the obvious parallel, of course, this is referencing the 9/11 attack, September 11th, 2001. And they said that they're basically going to take the high road on this one. They're not going to destroy these two structures. And they're like, we're proud of ourselves. We didn't do that. We didn't cross that line. Except like a few seconds later, they see like basically a giant harbor and these ships in this alien water. And they're like, Pearl Harbor, on the other hand, yeah, let's do it.
That's
and
like
they basically perform a Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Now, we saw the episode. I remember us distinctly sitting down and watching it during lunch, and we laughed our asses off because, of course, we're fans of dark humor and everything. The internet, not so much. I mean, it's not too surprising that you go on the Twitterscape, and 24 hours after this episode aired, people were not happy. People thought that they were picking low-hanging fruit and that it was just something that you honestly should not have done. So do you think that they pushed the envelope a little too far, or do you think it's rife for comedy?
I'll let you go this. Do you want to go first on this?
I don't know what to say about it, really.
I'll jump in. Okay, so here's the thing. I think a lot like Corey, it's either all funny or it isn't funny. I actually was super offended by the Jesus joke they did in the episode before with the literal train, and then they all started telling the Jesus story to get out of the, like they needed a bad story to get out of the story loop they were stuck in, so they all start praying to Jesus, and they all start talking about Jesus. Like that almost offended me, and I had to ask myself, like, whoa, why is that getting to me? And then I realized, like, oh, that's just a sensitive spot in my ability to take a joke. Like I don't like people making fun of that. Not that I'm even all that much of a Christian, but I recognize with that a lot because it was my childhood. And I thought it was low-hanging fruit, and it wasn't really a well-written joke, even though it was, because it's a Rick and Morty joke. But the 9/11 joke just made me like paralyzed with fear. Like I was like, oh no, they're really making a 9/11 joke. Like it was like, like it still is like too much. And I think it's interesting, but at the same time, I think a lot of Rick and Morty fans probably didn't have a problem with it. It's just the vocal minority, which knows, hey, if I complain about this, I could probably get a lot of people to pile on. And the recreational outrage is a term I've heard many times on the internet. I think it perfectly decides it. Everyone's bored. They're at home. They have nothing to do right now if you don't have a gig or a job. And they're just like, let's complain about Rick and Morty and get some retweets. And
I guess, like, what's the overall, like, general consensus about that joke from what you've read?
From what I've seen, and again, I'm glad that Christian mentioned this is a vocal minority, because that's basically what it was on Twitter. And that's Twitter in a nutshell, to be perfectly honest.
winners don't leave comments on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't leave comments
I
on
mean,
the internet.
it's just basically what it is. A lot of people just thought that it was offensive, that it was too soon in a way, you know, that type of thing. Even the Pearl Harbor aspect of the joke, they said that doesn't help it either. That's just as offensive. But again, I think that's kind of the point of the joke too, is not just that they're making a joke about 9/11, but they're okay with the fact that they're okay with a Pearl Harbor joke. Because you're not supposed to sympathize with Rick or Morty during that scene. You're supposed to see them as bad people at that point.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Tropic Thunder. I know this is a weird sort of pivot, but it's like the entire Robert Downey Jr. character in that movie.
His blackface character.
The blackface character. Everybody nowadays, or at least over the last couple of months, I've seen a lot of things resurge with this.
Yeah.
People are upset about the fact that Robert Downey Jr. did blackface. What they're forgetting is the context of the film. The point of that joke is not to say that blackface is funny, because it's not. It's that Robert Downey Jr.'s character is so blinded by his ability to be a great actor that he can't see that what he's doing is incredibly offensive and stupid.
It's built in.
That's the whole point there. You're not supposed to be laughing at him because he's using blackface. You're laughing at him because he's stupid that he doesn't realize what he's doing.
I just think it's funny how people are just now discovering that Robert Downey Jr. did that.
Yeah.
And he's like...
And he did that right after Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? He actually did that during
What a year.
Yeah, well, what a year.
Yeah.
It's like just as good as when Steven Spielberg did Schindler's List and Jurassic Park. It's a big one. The point is that Robert Downey Jr. is such a great actor and a great comedic actor that he pulled it off, and no one cared until the outrage world found out about it, and then, you know, pranced its dead body out in front of Twitter. Like, look at this.
Well, the fact of the matter is the world was a different place at that time, and I don't want to say that people are getting stupider, but people are getting stupider. Like
They're getting easily
not,
triggered.
Like I said, there's context behind all of that, and that goes with this Rick and Morty joke. Rick and Morty are not the greatest people in the world, and they're not really people you should look up to. Rick in particular. Rick is a freaking asshole. But he's a funny asshole. Those kind of things can be funny, but they're really missing the whole point of that joke. Even when they go, home and they just try to go about their normal lives, having breakfast with their family, they're so proud of what they did. But even the mom Beth is like, "Really, you did?" Like, she's a voice of reason in that scene to show that what these two did is not actually good.
They don't need Twitter to explain them.
No,
that they're bad.
Exactly. People just immediately saw that and they're like, "Oh, we got to jump on the bandwagon of hate." And I think it took away from the humor a lot. It's not gonna stop me from watching Rick and Morty anytime soon. I especially love when comedy can push the envelope. It should provoke people at any opportunity possible. And we laughed our asses off during that scene.
Well,
we did.
There's no doubt about it. I nearly spit my drink out.
The whole point is like, I don't want to say they're as bad as South Park or on a similar vein as South Park, but it's like their whole philosophy is that they're gonna make their rounds to everyone. They're not just singling out one group or they're making fun of one certain thing. They're gonna make fun of everyone.
Exactly.
And I think that's where it needs to be known, is like they're not just hating on one certain area. They will make their jokes about everything, and they will make jokes about everything possible.
Yeah, that's why it made me uncomfortable about the Christian joke.
Yeah.
But I have to be okay with that if I'm going to let them express themselves comedically.
Yeah.
And it is a funny joke.
Yeah.
It just, I'm the one person out of the 10 people in the room it bothered. But, the next, you got to let them just do their humor.
So then the next joke, you're in that same room with the 10 people, then
Yeah.
that joke will bother someone else in the room.
Yeah, but I ate my medicine during that one joke, and I'm okay with the freedom of speech of these people. As white males here, we should be explaining this to the world. No.
And it's also funny too because you were I don't want to say you were offended, you weren't angry about it, but like the whole Jesus joke thing
affected me.
Yeah,
I remember how it hit me.
Like that Jesus joke happened. It was really funny. Nobody offended by it. We're talking about one of the biggest religions in the entire world. It's figurehead being made fun of on a cartoon. No one batted an eye at it. But the next week, 9/11, you can't joke about that at all. That's the thing. Like it's just kind of ironic in that sense.
You gotta let them have their fun. And at the end of the day, the show is funny, and I'm glad it's there.
And I'm glad it's continuing to, push the envelope in every single way. Who knows what's going to happen? Justin Roiland has a brand new show called Solar Opposites. Which,
I just yet to see the first episode.
Which I know you guys haven't seen, but if you like Rick and Morty, I highly recommend checking out this show. I'd say it's a less cynical version of Rick and Morty. It's more just joke-based without being too malicious.
Is it what the Cleveland show was to the Family Guy?
It is nothing like the Cleveland show.
I'm just trying to make a comparison. Well, the good thing, subversion of the show.
It's the Cleveland show in the sense
American Dad to Family Guy.
I'd say it has more in common with American Dad, and the only reason is because, unlike the Cleveland show, which took a character from an existing property and gave him his own show, American Dad is its own thing, but it uses the same art style as Family Guy.
And
but
some
this
of
is
the
kind of the
same
same
comedic
thing.
beats.
Exactly. Yeah. Solar Opposites feels like Rick and Morty, looks like Rick and Morty, but it's a completely different cast with a completely different style of comedy, but still going there into like the out there sci-fi sort of style. But like I said, it's way less cynical and way less malicious in the way that it actually does its comedy. But it's really great. I highly recommend it if you guys want to check it out. And like a lot of brand new comedic cartoons, like it's episodic. Like there's not just the episode of the week, it's an actual story that has like a continuation that goes through, and there is a C plot in this series that is the best thing that I think I have ever seen. It's so good that it could be its very own show.
Don't tell me.
I don't that's the thing, I don't even want to tell you. Like I've never seen a C plots in TV shows usually suck. It's usually like that one joke that kind of goes on and on and on. In this show, it's this continuous joke that grows with every single episode. And there are some moments where it's funny, and there are some moments that will want to make you cry. It is that damn good.
Wow.
But it's done in that Justin Roiland kind of way. He voices like most of the characters, so it definitely has a lot of that humor. But I highly recommend checking it out.
It's good stuff.
So moving on from there, let's talk about one of our favorite people in the world, Joe Rogan. Arguably one of the greatest podcasters of all times.
Pioneer.
Internet personality, big MMA guy. But he's about to make a big change, a big move. No longer is he going to be on the juggernaut that is YouTube. He's moving on to Spotify. I think this is a really good decision, but I want to hear from you guys first. Christian, I want to start with you because you are a huge Joe Rogan fan.
I'm like borderline a person that'll try to indoctrinate people into the Joe Rogan world if you let me talk about it long enough.
You got me into him.
Yeah, there we go.
And I recently introduced my roommate to Joe Rogan, and he is obsessed with the guy. So again, just give us your thoughts about this Spotify move.
As far as my fandom of Rogan, it's pretty much since 2011 or 2012. It was the very first time he had Kevin Smith on his show, and this is back like when he was doing the show at his house with just his friend Brian Redband before even his new producer Young Jamie was part of the show. And I just really loved the show because I always thought it was like a pretty level-headed person talking to smart people, but a lot of the times he'll have smart people on that kind of have an agenda. You know, like some left-leaning people or right-leaning people, and he still sort of like grabs them and shoves them into the center and says, but what do you really think from a normal person's perspective? You know, not like in your perfect left person's viewpoint or your perfect right person's viewpoint, because we don't live like that.
He tries to mine the bullshit.
Yeah, he tries to get through that. And as far as his Spotify thing, I think it's interesting because he is walking away from YouTube, which has to be a ton of views. And he's walking away from iTunes. So Apple and Google are losing Joe Rogan's view count, which is crazy because essentially he would have giant guests on, cultivate millions of views, literally affect the conscious mind of our culture in this country with his conversations. And now he's going to go straight to Spotify. I think realistically he's going to lose some views because people don't like changing platforms for no good reason. Yeah. But I think as far as him protecting his opinions and his freedom of speech, I think getting away from YouTube is absolutely necessary. You told me the other day, Corey, that if YouTube demonetizes you, they still run ads, but they just keep it anyway for themselves. I'm like, what are you saying then? If you're going to remove someone's ability to make money on YouTube, but then still run ads and keep the money yourself, that is insane. I can't believe YouTube does that. Joe Rogan is not a big complainer, but multiple times he said, I have played 3 seconds of music, and then the company that owns that music decides they're going to get all my ad revenue for my 10 million views on my video.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, right. That's not going to happen. You know, he's told the guests, if you come on and then someone as part of your company tries to copyright claim any part of my video, I'll just pull your whole episode down. I won't let you have it, you know? And I think he's just very scared of YouTube becoming more liberal, more selective of viewpoints and deciding what will be communicated on the platform. And he doesn't like that. Like, he's had doctors on to talk about COVID-19, and then parts of the episode will get flagged because YouTube has decided they don't agree with a scientist's point of view. You know, and
plus they're straight out censoring certain topics altogether.
Yeah, they're shadow banning people. They're
just by you mentioning COVID-19, by me saying that right now,
our video will not do as well.
It might not do as well. It might not even get any views. It could be taken away from YouTube and
definitely not monetized.
And that completely defeats the entire purpose of what this platform was.
Do you remember
Adpocalypse,
Corey, where people were getting?
I remember Adpocalypse.
Your whole library was getting re-looked at. So I think Angry Joe, one of my favorite reviewers, the guy with glasses, we were seeing a bunch of reviewers who had done content for years. All of a sudden, everything with clips was getting pulled or all their ad revenue was getting pulled. So they had generated 1,000 video libraries that were generating money for them. And then 80% of them were getting claimed by other people, or YouTube just decided they don't like that opinion later on after they had done the video 8 years after. And it's just unfair. Like, YouTube is not America. It is not freedom of speech place. It is YouTube with their rules that always change and will be, they'll just look back on their content for as far back as they want randomly. And I think Joe Rogan's just like, no, I'm going to go to Spotify. I'm going to have complete control over my show. Spotify knows that I'm going to have complete control of my show and they can't pull it. And it's not that much of a thing. Instead of saying youtube.com/JRE, you're just going to go spotify.com/JRE. And I hope everyone makes the jump. I know I don't listen to Spotify, but the day he launches, I will sign up for Spotify. I might not buy the paid stuff. But
the good thing is it is free.
Spotify has the best deal, I guess, right now anyway. At least for students. Like, I'm still in college, so for $5 a month, I get Spotify, I get Hulu, and I get Showtime. For $5 a month.
That's
a pretty damn good deal.
That is a fantastic. Now, is that just a student thing?
You got to have the .edu.
Yeah, you got to have the .edu, and then I think after that it's $10 a month.
Okay. But I mean, you don't even at $10 a month. That's an absolute steal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wish Rogan the best. Everyone's reporting that he made $100 million on the deal. He has a huge library of close to, I think, 1,500 videos or podcasts, however you want to classify those, of his show. And he's just killing it, man. Like, he's doing great content. I enjoy watching it. I tell everyone about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I try not to repeat too many things I hear on the show, just in case I run into another Joe Rogan fan. It's like, you're just repeating things. Yeah. But, you know, it's a great show. And what do you guys think of, like, the actual him moving to Spotify? Do you guys have an opinion on that? You think it's good?
I think it's, you know, whatever deal that they've struck is probably the best for him. From what I understand, he's getting a flat, what is it, 100 million or something?
Yeah, it might. Someone said it might be more, like he's getting 200 million. But Spotify's stock shot up and they made $5 billion the day they announced it. So,
yeah.
You know.
So I think that's all he really needs. Like, you know, doing the YouTube and doing the video aspect of it, you know, all he does is talk. You know, we're doing right now is talking. We don't have any, you know, spectacular visuals other than, you know, you just see our faces right now.
Essentially.
We're seeing Joe's, you know, face and whatever guests he had on, you know, maybe. But, you know, if you announce who you're talking to, and, you know, I think it'll be all right.
What do you think of YouTube censorship? Have you seen that? What I'm talking about? Like, have you heard of those things?
So yeah, I've been, you know, most of the YouTubers that I've been following, you know, over time, you know, especially, you know, even the biggest one like PewDiePie has really cut back a lot. You know, he's censored himself, you know, 100%.
Massively.
Like, he doesn't curse anymore. He used to be that kid that just played Minecraft and said the F-bomb, you know, 100 times in an episode. And he doesn't say any curse words anymore. He doesn't say anything that's, you know, he really watches what he says because of YouTube. he's relied on YouTube to pay his his whole salary, everything he's got to pay
Plus
for
sponsors,
his living.
though.
Yeah, plus his sponsors. His videos aren't super intensive to make, but he's one of the most popular creators ever. Like, everyone loves his aesthetic, everyone loves his style, and that goes for most YouTubers. Like, Casey Neistat had to cut back. He used to curse in every video. He had to cut back because he's
an adult.
Yeah.
He talks that way.
And then that's fine. I think if YouTube is really going to start censoring people, then they need to put a policy for each, I guess, region that you're in, because I think what they're playing is not necessarily. I mean, I know they want to censor based on, because there's a lot of kids watching now. There's a lot of younger viewers, and that's fine. And they always get around the wall of you sign in under a different age and you get in, you watch those inappropriate videos.
Yep.
But I think they need to set it based on region, because I know there's certain regions that you can't watch a certain video. Like, if you're in a certain country, there's videos that are blocked for you for whatever YouTube's reasoning is. I think that if there's going to be a platform that YouTube is the biggest video platform, entertainment platform right now. America needs to have its own regional setting, freedom of speech. You need to be able to post whatever you want. And, the whole thing of making money off of it is very tricky. Because
you have to please the sponsors that are paying for the ads.
Exactly.
At the same time, you want to make the platform usable for your creators.
So I don't think it should be a deal between you and YouTube. I think it should be a deal between you and whatever sponsors are trying to get onto your video.
Yeah, I only want the adult block of sponsors. I'm making videos that may have cursing, they may have adult concepts, and I want adult block sponsors only.
So why is it any different? Like, why couldn't YouTube use like an entertainment rating system? So it's like anything on TV or movies. It's like
if you're a parent, you have to make your kid a YouTube account, and you can just classify it as a kid account currently. I think that's what they do. But
it'll restrict them from seeing certain content, but keep them like in their line.
Yeah.
So if you make a video and you rate it R rating, and that limits who's able to watch it, but you can still make the same amount of money you were making and create the content that you want.
Yeah,
basically.
I don't like Logan Paul. I'm just going to be very honest, but I've heard of something that happened to him recently where he has a new podcast he's been doing for like a year now, and everyone has a podcast nowadays. Right. But he had a podcast, and he was like the large goofy kid, and he made kids videos. Or content that kids would consume. And then he wanted to interview porn stars on his podcast, and YouTube shut that shit down. Like, they wouldn't let him monetize it or anything. Yeah. And it's like, the guy's 25 now. He's an adult. If he wants to do some adult content, he should be allowed to. Obviously, that guy could stop making videos and he'd live just fine for the rest of his life because he made millions already. Yeah. Buy that merch. And but the whole point is, I just think it's like, dude, who has control over this? Like, what are we really doing here? And I really hope YouTube can define their stance on things. I think they're scared to, because if they change their mind later, they don't want everyone calling them a hypocrite. So they rather keep it in the shadows where they can do whatever they want. And I think Joe Rogan leaving will be a good shot in the ass for them, and they should decide to be a little nicer to their creators, and give us more control over what we do. So.
Yeah, because weren't you telling me there was a problem with H3?
H3 just got into a huge fight with Drama Alert guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then they both ended up losing sponsors because G Fuel left the other guy, the Drama Alert guy, and then Old Spice left H3 because they didn't like that they were involved with drama. And it's sort of a shame because YouTube was letting the Drama Alert guy drive people crazy, and H3 tries, the whole community was trying to police itself, and then instead
sounds
everyone
like some bullshit high school drama is what it sounds
that's
like.
What I don't understand.
A million people are watching. That's the problem.
So that's the part I don't get at all. So you're gonna start, you're gonna stop monetizing these big people like PewDiePie and Casey Neistat and people who actually, put effort into making content, but you're letting this troll run around and roast people on YouTube and make money off of it.
And send armies of people at their social media accounts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get this guy that does Drama Alert, that researches, people's stupid drama, life drama, and you're going to expose that out on the internet and create tabloids and stupid YouTube crap. And, he gets paid millions probably.
He gets lots of views, so let's assume he makes a good chunk of money.
So if he was if he had sponsors and he's up there with those bigger YouTubers, he's probably made over $1 million doing just YouTube.
Yep. I think it's easy to admit that.
I think that's a shame. I think that's a really bad investment on YouTube's part if they're going to keep him going like that.
Well, he just doesn't talk about the things they don't like, so they don't care yet.
That's true.
Yeah, he doesn't talk about certain hot topics. So as long as you just talk about someone's whatever the heck drama alert guy talked about, they don't mind. So yeah, anything you want to add, Corey?
Yeah, first and foremost, when it comes to Joe moving to Spotify, I think it's a good decision. I think any platform that gives Joe the freedom to do what he wants to do and to say what he wants to do is really important, especially with the way that things have been changing on YouTube. It's not just been the last, year. Every year something changes. Every week there's a brand new thing, and it feels like we're constantly getting squeezed by them in a lot of different ways. It's only in the last couple of months that every time I have to upload a video now, I have to answer a questionnaire, and it is the same old crap every single time. And it pigeonholes me a little bit. It makes me feel like the content that I'm making, it has to be made only for a specific person or no one gets to see it at all. And I really hate that aspect of the platform because we've been on it for so long and we've had so much creative freedom with what we've been able to do. Some of my favorite content creators have, as you guys have said, had to completely censor some of their works or change the way that they actually do things just in an effort to stay alive, to keep the lights on. And what I'm most interested in is now that Joe is going to Spotify, is this going to be like the beginning of some mass exodus for a lot of other YouTubers? Could this be like the first major nail in the coffin for YouTube, so to speak?
I don't know. YouTube has a massive control of the
They
market.
do. And that's what's interesting about YouTube because there are other video sharing platform sites.
Vimeo.
But they're nothing compared to YouTube because YouTube has been around since the inception of this stuff. Like it's what effectively created this. And there's always going to be places to watch goofy videos and people talking and podcasts and everything. But YouTube has just monopolized that for the last decade or more at this point. And I'm really interested to see if a lot of these big channels are going to do what Joe is doing just to get that freedom back. And man, I hope they get to keep that freedom.
But the thing is, some of these other channels can't afford to lose 70% of their views.
They can't. A lot of these people, that's the thing, a lot of these channels have built themselves entirely on the platform.
Yeah.
And leaving the platform could mean their end. Joe's lucky enough that, and I like that you brought this up, Michael, like his it's just him talking in front of a camera. It's not a hard setup to move somewhere else. And he has a very dedicated fan base.
Until Spotify gets some sort of video platform for their own site, I think.
Oh, they are. They're launching it with Rogan coming over.
It's no coincidence that they're launching that with Joe.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they're going to launch a whole video side of their website with Joe joining.
Then I think YouTube is starting to get its first competitor that can actually keep up.
Yeah.
Because everyone can, I know Spotify requires you pay for the subscription, if you want to have the premium service.
The no ads or whatever.
But you can get it totally free. So I think, and then YouTube, I don't even know what their premium rate is. What is it, $10 or $15 a month for the YouTube?
All you get with that is no ads. I don't think there is some content.
You get no ads, you get the music, and you get a lot of crappy original content. That's basically what you get.
Yeah, the original YouTube content has never impressed me. Yeah. I mean, it's probably fun to watch, but it's not a reason enough for me to
compared to other platforms, it's dick. Like, there's just nothing there to watch or enjoy.
Netflix originals are way better than YouTube originals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
by a long shot.
So I think, Spotify is on the up and coming, and I think...
But, the other people that have moved heavily are, there was two different people that went from, it was Ninja and another guy, I forget his name, but they went from Twitch to Mixer. Yeah, and they were paid a lot of money to switch, and their views went down by 80% because there just aren't as many people on Mixer as there are on Twitch. And literally, it's the exact same thing. It's instead of twitch.com/ninja, it's mixer.com/ninja. And I mean, he was used to getting 15 to 20,000 a stream, and now he's getting 5. So, but Ninja doesn't need the money anymore. So he just wants more freedom. So I think he did that move. But I'm telling you, the smaller YouTubers, until there's a 1-to-1 comparison or at least a closer one, we're all kind of stuck here on YouTube.
Yep.
Stuck on the island of YouTube. That's right, guys. That's what's going on. Well, guys, I think we've actually kind of wrapped up our topics today. A lot of really interesting stuff. First and foremost, Michael, thanks for joining us today. It's always awesome to have you on here. It's good to have another input here, aside from just me and Christian talking. And we know you're going to be around for a little longer, so hopefully you'll join us for a few more episodes. But you heard our topics for today, guys. We'd love to get your input. Make sure to sound off in the comments section below, whether it's everything from the Zack Snyder cut to Joe Rogan going to Spotify or even Rick and Morty. If you have any topic ideas or questions for us personally, please make sure, again, sound off in the comments section below. Please subscribe to this channel for more videos and podcasts just like this one. Make sure to hit the like button. It helps out our videos tremendously. And most importantly of all, if you want to go the extra mile, please check out our Patreon in the description box below. As always, remember, if you guys make a small donation, I myself will do a review, an anime series of your choice, so make sure and check that out. Otherwise, guys, you have anything else for us?
No. Thanks for watching.
That's it.
Bye.
See you guys later.